Yes, I am here. We did it. I think, have finally figured this out, you guys. It's not a high budget podcast I do here in my beautiful Ash Gregoire Chaminade Nissan Maxima. I don't ask for a lot. I am a low maintenance, drama free for the most part of my day to day life. But every now and again, these technical glitches come up and throw these speed bumps and these hurdles we have to overcome. Proud to say I managed to do it, you guys. I managed to do it myself on this Tuesday morning. Welcome back to In the Car with Star. Proud presentation of Accent Group and accentgroup.com, the website, your leader in freight forwarding and logistics. Call them for any information to move your freight domestically or cross-border at 888-99-ACCENT. Game day, the Montreal Canadiens taking on the New Jersey Devils, the elite New Jersey Devils with the third highest point total in the National Hockey League. The Montreal Canadiens and their tank update still with the seventh fewest point total in the National Hockey League. Can they make up ground? This is what we're talking about on the 21st day of February, meaning that we're that much closer to the NHL trade deadline, as a matter of fact. And the news isn't good because we now know exactly what the Montreal Canadiens are going to do. The Montreal Canadiens trade deadline plans have finally been revealed, and we now know their grand scheme, the grand plan, exactly what this organization is going to do, taking us to the March 3rd trade deadline. Drum roll, please. Nada. Squadouche. Nothing. They're not doing anything. And it's not because Ken Hughes and Jeff Gordon don't have plans up their sleeves. They have plans. They had plans by design. But like life tends to do, it goes unscripted. Life throws obstacles in our path, and we are challenged to overcome those obstacles. And the obstacles for Ken Hughes and Jeff Gordon in 2023 are nothing short of a plague, a rash of injuries. And unknowns. Sean Monahan, practicing, not practicing. Contact jersey, no contact jersey. What is it? Depends on the day of the week. Joel Edmondson, still not there. This is another trade chip that I think a lot of us thought was going to bring extreme value to the Montreal Canadiens, especially like if you go the whole way, if you're playing hypotheticals, what Sean Monahan's first month and a half looked like before the Calgary game, and the fact that you haven't seen him back in a Canadiens uniform since that infamous money on the board Canadiens go to Calgary and beat the Flames. Joel Edmondson, teeter-totter season. These were the two players of substance that were likely going to bring the Montreal Canadiens some significant value in exchange. Well, we know now Joel Edmondson, hard to imagine any type of deal. Sean Monahan, why would any general manager, let alone a general manager for a club that truly believes itself to be a Stanley Cup contender, why would a general manager of that hypothetical team trade for Sean Monahan? I like to use the word trust a lot as it relates to pro sports and decisions. There's zero trust. You have zero trust in Sean Monahan being able to deliver anything of substance for your team down the stretch in a depth move. Jonathan Drouin, no goals, 12 assists in his last 12 or so games. That was the storyline before the weekend. Well, that's gone now. So, the Montreal Canadiens trade plans have moved from maybe a third first-round draft pick to now basically no transactions. And I honestly look at someone like Josh Anderson, who at this point is 28 years old, who I think is still on the right side of the Canadiens front office. I keep hearing reports that the front office loves Josh Anderson. They look at Josh Anderson not necessarily as a trade chip, but as someone that could be a part of the future for the Montreal Canadiens, which has me a little curious because he's 28 years old. So, if we talk about the Montreal Canadiens and where we think they're going to be 2, 3, 4 years down the road, Josh Anderson's going to be 31, 32 years old. What's his role? Where does he look like? Or how does he play at that stage? A lot of hypotheticals there, but I got to tell you, I'm a bit disappointed. And it's not a criticism of the new front office. It's not a criticism of the new front office. It's more of a criticism coming from a hockey fan. Like everybody else in this market, I love trades. I want to see trades. I want to see, the light at the end of this tunnel. What's going to happen? How are the Montreal Canadiens going to stock the cupboards? Look, they're still with the seventh fewest points of any team in hockey. And I honestly, it's going to get worse. They've got New Jersey tonight at 7 o'clock. They've got the Flyers on Friday. That's a big must-lose game. You saw what happened against Toronto. You saw what happened against Carolina. The Montreal Canadiens got their lunch served to them by the upper echelon teams in the National Hockey League. And I think more of those L's are to come. So if you're part of Tank Nation, if you're looking at this through the lens of I need this team to be as bad as they possibly can for the stretch run. I think if you're on Team Tank, I think you're kind of going to get your wish. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. As always appreciated. Bon matin, Mathieu. Thank you, Mathieu. I had a lot of fun. Mathieu and Pat and their podcast, We Habs. If you missed it, head over to youtube.com, search We Habs. That's OUI for my non-Francophone speaking friends. You'll see me parler en français with a little bit of anglais thrown into the mix. We had a lot of fun on that podcast. I look forward to being on it again. Our schedule is about to get rocky. I'm not worried about the tank. I agree wholeheartedly. As we know, the stretch drive, the Montreal Canadiens of any team in hockey, no team has a tougher remaining games strength of schedule than the Montreal Canadiens do. Matthew, back in the chat, Habs will not be able to get that third first-round pick at the deadline. However, the draft will be the stage where it will happen. I completely agree with Matthew's perspective that, especially, and I think, I've been beating this drum for a while now. And it feels like a couple of months I brought Josh Anderson's name to the trade front in terms of value and how the Montreal Canadiens can get that coveted third first-round pick. I told you 2-3 months ago, it feels like Josh Anderson is that guy. I know Marco D'Amico, who covers the Montreal Canadiens for Montreal Hockey Now, he had a story up on their website this morning talking about the fact, listen, Sean Monahan, bad luck. Let's just get over the fact that Sean Monahan's not going to bring the organization back anything of value. I went through the names on this roster that I don't think bring Ken Hughes a third first-round pick. Maybe someone like Christian Dvorak, who's fourth on team scoring, who still has a couple of years left at under $4.5 million per season on the cap hit. Is that someone Ken Hughes can look at? Is that someone Ken Hughes identifies to provide depth to a Stanley Cup contending team? Again, I don't think Christian Dvorak, with 2 years left at $4.45 million on the salary cap, gets what Ken Hughes says he wants, and that's that third first-round pick. So I'm starting to believe today that you can forget about it. You can forget about that third first-round pick. Team Tank has won this debate. It is now a Team Tank season, and you need this team to start losing games. And the injuries have definitely expedited the process. Guy Irish, welcome to St. Patrick's Day season on this 21st day of February. What's up, my friend? Steph Howard, howdy, Sean. The tank is in good hands. Look, everybody is now back on Team Tank. Team Tank has taken over, my guys. Hey, Sean. I always remember how Martin St. Louis and Hughes emphasized building a team with hockey sense. I wonder about Anderson's future. He's not exactly brimming with hockey sense. Ouch, coming in hot. I appreciate the perspective and the opinion. Listen, I think what's happened with Josh Anderson, and I'm not so quick to pull the trigger, does he have a good amount of hockey sense? Is this someone that can lead a team? I do believe Josh Anderson, to me, comes across as a leader, someone that I do. To contradict you, I think Josh Anderson does have hockey sense. But here's what I think's happening, and I think you saw it with Brendan Gallagher, is another guy who's injured. I think Martin St. Louis is asking guys to be multi-dimensional. And so if Josh Anderson was, let's say, a north-south guy, or Brendan Gallagher does one thing well, and that's go to the net and try to score garbage goal after garbage goal after garbage goal, Brendan Gallagher doesn't have a shot that's going to beat anybody. Gallagher has to work his ass off, has to go to the net, has to be that guy if he's going to flourish in the NHL. And I think Josh Anderson is a better version of Brendan Gallagher, but Josh Anderson, again, I think is a one-dimensional type of player. Some people are comfortable referring to Josh Anderson as a power forward. I am not. But I think Martin St. Louis is asking these guys, in particular, Gallagher and Anderson here, to be versatile, to be less predictable, so that when you're, a top pair defenseman playing for the other team and Josh Anderson is coming down the wing with speed, you're an educated blue liner. You know Anderson's tendencies. I think that's what Martin St. Louis is trying to do. And as a result, you're learning on the fly. And that's why I look at this season in particular, and I'm comfortable categorizing it and talking about it and describing it as a figure-it-out year. And I still think we are in figure-it-out territory, and that includes Coach Martin St. Louis. Who does he have? Who listens? Who's working hard? Who's paying attention in the video room? Are they applying what they're learning on the ice and getting better? Everybody's allowed to make mistakes. Everybody at every level. The issue is when you make the same mistake repeatedly. That is a major red flag. So I think that's what Martin St. Louis in this figure-it-out year is doing. Who's paying attention? Who has hockey sense? and who's applying that hockey sense on a regular basis. That's what I think is happening, and that's why I think some guys aren't hitting on certain numbers, why some guys are learning, why some guys seemingly struggle more than others, right? That's what I think is happening here. That's how I choose to explain what's going on. More comments. Marc Cormier, good morning. Would you think we'll see Sean Farrell playing a couple of games with the Habs before the end of this season? That's an interesting question. I don't think so. And it's a maybe, the Arbor Jackeye, again, as the injuries pile up, the uncertainty of Arbor Jackeye, is that's an avenue where the Canadiens could explore possibilities and get guys up earlier. At this point, I lean towards no. I like this group. I like everybody kind of learning together. I think Jordan Harris comes across as a more mature player and a better player, a more steady player game after game after game. I don't think now is the time to do that. I think the Canadiens at this point, Mark, if we're being honest, still have a lot of learning to do. And I think having a Sean Farrell at this point in this season is an unnecessary distraction. And if you are, who are you taking out? What's the minutes kind of looking like there? I think the Montreal Canadiens have their hands full, unless something else happens in terms of, like, can you see an Owen Beck emergency call-up again? The Canadiens have to bend the rules because they don't have healthy bodies. Anderson is not a small player and won't break down that easily. He will still have some value in 2 years when the cap goes up. That's Steph Howard's perspective on the future of Josh Anderson. And look, like if Ken Hughes is dead set on getting that third first-round pick, then I can totally see a world where you and I are here talking about a Josh Anderson trade in July on the TSN draft floor. That's what I could see that happening. I could see that happening, that the Canadiens are going to be comfortable moving on, knowing that they're going to fill Josh Anderson's role with their own guys. And I think there is this other element of Ken Hughes. Ken Hughes has his own vision. Ken Hughes has his own preferences when it comes to what type of player he wants to populate the Canadiens roster with. And, maybe there's some guys that he inherited from the previous regime that he just doesn't see eye to eye with. Maybe he doesn't see Josh Anderson as a build-around guy, someone that he wants for the foreseeable future. I hear differently, but we'll see. Like, is Brendan Gallagher, is that a Ken Hughes guy? Is Jonathan Drouin a Ken Hughes guy? Does he see a future with either of those guys with him in the front office? Guy Irish, is the TSN 690 team in the parade this year? Hope to see you, brother. I can confirm TSN 690. I hear, and I don't want to take the email I got literally, but I read we will have a float. I think we're back on the float bandwagon for the TSN 690 St. Patrick's Day Parade, which after a few years with stupid COVID ruining all of our lives, the St. Patrick's Day Parade is back and back in a big way in March. I don't know what day of the week the 17th falls on. I think it's a Friday. I think the parade this year in Montreal is the 19th. Don't hold me to that, but I do believe the TSN 690 float is back in a big way, which, if I recall, in the previous editions of the St. Patrick's Day Parade here in Montreal, prior to COVID, I think it was the longest running parade in North America. We had some real awful setups. I'm not going to lie. Like, we've walked the parade route a few times, which is terrible. We've also, I think the worst of all time is we had like this gigantic bicycle. Like, I don't even know what you call this contraption. Like, all of us rode on a bicycle together, like you have those tandem bikes, like you see people vacationing in these warm climates. Like, you got Buddy in the front, he has his girl in the back, and you're all pedaling, We had that, but picture it with like 15 people. And it was minus 20. And it was terrible because what what happens, right? So the parade goes and they tell us we always have to meet. If you're in the parade, you always meet on René Lévesque in downtown Montreal. And it's generally St. Mark, St. Matthew, René Lévesque, that kind of section. And the parade doesn't go off until, 1 o'clock sometimes. And they tell, I'll get there at 10:30. Get there at 11. Invariably, we end up waiting 8 hours in the freezing cold. They don't let you drink anymore, so you don't even have anything to warm you up because the parade now, everyone's all worried what's going to happen because one time somebody fell off a float, and now you can't have people jumping on and off floats anymore. You can't have a flask with anything in it anymore. They're going to kick you out. And then they make you wait 4 hours in the frigid cold, and then they make you walk the parade. Like, it is arguably one of the worst days of my year, honestly. Not because of the parade itself. It's everything that goes into this thing. Everything that goes into this thing. Like, if you're there, you're a spectator at the parade on St. Catherine Street, different ball of wax. You're with your friends, you're with a crew, you've got a flask, you're allowed to drink in public on St. Patrick's Day in Montreal. But no, the float. So apparently we have this radio station has a float again. I don't know, we're probably going to be sharing it with the direct from CJAD 800. I kid. People get so sensitive. You can't even make jokes anymore. I'm not, so that's what I hear. I hear we have a float. That's what I hear. The Hudson Parade is March 18th. Montreal Parade is March 19th. The Chateauguay Parade is 1 week later on the 26th. So all my friends from all points in the Hudson, enjoy your parade. The main parade here on the 19th, and then the Chateauguay Parade out in the South Shore. It was a hilarious. You know what, Irish? Of course it was hilarious. We looked like a clown show. You know why it was hilarious? Because you were bundled up. You weren't sitting on a cold chair with a pole basically stuck up your arse for 4 hours, freezing. Your hands, your toes, everything was frozen. Of course it's hilarious because you weren't on it. Hilarious. I can look back on it now and I'm still not laughing. So anyways, a whole bunch of y'all are going to be out there on the float on St. Patrick's Day. Don't forget to scream, have fun, say hello to all your favorite people. Don't be surprised if you hear my friends Connor McKenna and Mitch Melnick on the microphone on our big TSN 690 float. So that's coming up, St. Patrick's Day Parade. I'm glad I got that out of the way. That's coming up March 19th. Don't forget, scream at TSN 690 when you see your favorite radio station parading down Rue St. Catherine. How much golf did y'all watch with Tiger Woods back in the field at Riviera? It was the second designated event of the PGA Tour season. You're not sure what these events are. Basically, it's as a result of what LIV has done, this new startup professional golf circuit has forced the PGA Tour to crack open the vault and offer larger purses, more take-home money for some of their marquee events. So they've designated spots on the calendar. So obviously all four majors are what are classified as a designated event. The Waste Management Phoenix Open was a designated event with a gigantic $3.6 million first place prize. The Genesis, which is Tiger's hosted event at Riviera in Los Angeles, that's another designated event. So Jon Rahm, who won for the fifth time in his last 9 worldwide starts, took home $3.6 million. Lots of people in the aftermath of Riviera talking about the joke that landed flat by Tiger Woods, who, listen, Tiger Woods, his swing looked great. Joe LaCava, who's Tiger's caddy, said this is the first time since Tiger's horrific crash that he and his player spent 4 days not talking about Tiger's leg, instead talking about things that normal golfers talk about when they're out there in competition. Tiger's limp didn't get any worse from what I saw Thursday through Sunday, but obviously his ego is a little bit more bruised in the aftermath of cameras catching Tiger Woods delivering a tampon to his little brother, Justin Thomas. Why? Because I guess Tiger thinks that Justin is a vagina because he doesn't hit the ball further than Tiger does. So right off the hop, when I saw this, right, we'll talk about Tiger's driver speed and his ball speed and his club head speed and how far he was hitting the ball in a second. The joke was just shit. It was just not funny, right? Like, I could take jokes with the best of them. I could bust balls, have fun. Locker room talk, I've been a part of that, right? I've seen it, I've heard it. There's a time and place. But it just goes to show you, like, when I think of Tiger Woods, I don't think of a normal human being. Therefore, I don't expect normal behavior from a guy that I don't think is normal. I don't think Tiger knows what normal is. I don't think his life was ever normal. And I think for the guys and the girls that are in the 1% of athletes, I think they're in such a tunnel vision, right? Where I think they're so out of touch. And I gave this anecdote on the morning show today with Connor McKenna and yours truly, that on the 3-star quiz, 7:35 Monday to Friday, I do the 3-star quiz with Connor and whoever our panel is. And I used to do this thing where I would ask our panelists the price of an ordinary item in a grocery store, like an Oasis juice box or a box of Honey Nut Cheerios. Like, what's the price of that thing, right? And I got that from Ellen DeGeneres, who used to have, let's say, like Bill Gates would pop up as a guest on her show back in the day, and she would ask Bill Gates, what does a box of Tide detergent cost? And Bill has no idea what the hell Tide costs. Bill's not going to Whole Foods buying detergent because he's doing the laundry on Sunday morning. Bill doesn't know. I thought it was funny. And so I look at Tiger Woods that way. Like, Tiger Woods is just not in touch with the real world. He has so much money. He is such a celebrity that he's just not a part of us. Like, he's a part of the human race, but he's not a part of the human race. It's like, I play golf. I'm passionate about golf. Max Homa, Jon Rahm, Tiger Woods, they play golf, but we play different sports. Am I making sense? You know what I'm saying? Like, we play the same, we use the same equipment, but we're just in completely different worlds. And that's where I think Tiger is. And that's why I thought he believed that the joke was funny, that because at 47, he's hitting it further than his little brother, because that's the relationship Tiger has with JT. It really is a big brother, little brother relationship. They're that close. They refer to each other as family. And I believe it. And I believe them. That Tiger was going to bust balls of his little brother, and it was just a big vagina. So here's a tampon, because you hit the ball like a girl, and me, a 47-year-old man, hits it further than you. And Tiger thought it was funny, right? Like, people were sending me messages and DMs. Oh, what about your boy Tiger? Like, Tiger's not my best friend. I don't know Tiger Woods. I don't have any skin in the game other than I'm a fan of Tiger Woods, and I look at him as someone that revolutionized the game of golf. But other than that, Tiger Woods is a douchebag. Full stop. Always has been. And I think always will be. Like, he's notorious for a lot of debaucherous things in his life. Well documented. Like, if you can find it, go back. I don't know. It's got to be 20 years old. The infamous Tiger Woods GQ story. It was the last time Tiger let anybody into his little world, where he kind of pulled the curtain back, and you kind of saw how Tiger is wired, what moves the needle, what jokes Tiger thinks are funny. And all that information, things I've heard, things I've read, and then there's the scandals involving Tiger Woods. All that, when you put the first bit of the story in line and then add the last bit of the story in line, and you put it all together, it makes a lot of sense that Tiger Woods is just a douchebag and is very, 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 and I'm being kind here, juvenile. That's his sense of humor. Like, I had a buddy of mine that made his living on tour, so on and so forth, and he would tell me all these stories about Tiger Woods. And one of the things Tiger used to love to say was he would walk up to someone. He goes, the city Tulsa, 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 Oklahoma. This is to show you how juvenile Tiger's sense of humor is. He'd go up to a guy and go, he'd whisper him, spell Tulsa backwards. A slut. That's what it is. A slut. A slut. Tulsa. That's Tulsa backwards. And Tiger loves that kind of humor. Like, he's 47 years old. He's 47 years old, but has the maturity level of a 13-year-old boy. Boobies, bum, vagina, pubic hair, like, that shit makes Tiger Woods laugh. That's why you got the tampon joke, right? And when the first person that sent to me, I think on Twitter, it was Friday, I saw it, I was like, this is bullshit. It's photoshopped or whatever else, fake news, as they say. And then more and more it became this thing. I was like, oh, I guess it really is I guess he really did this. I'm like, my first thought was, what an idiot. I didn't smirk or chuckle or guffaw. I didn't do any of that stuff. And then I thought, why would you do this? Why would you do this in public? Like, why wouldn't you save that for the locker room? You know what I mean? Like, why wouldn't you, like, you're changing shoes, changing your shirt after a round of golf and say, oh, JT, I forgot you're going to need this now that your round is over, and you slide him the tampon, like, anyways, that's just Tiger. It's a glimpse of who he is, an imperfect little child that just happens to be the greatest golfer of all time. The greatest golfer right now, and it's not even close, is Jon Rahm, who won at Riviera, almost holed out on 16 to pretty much finish off Max Homa, who didn't have his driver on the back nine in Los Angeles on Sunday. And what do you say about Jon Rahm, the world number one, legit number one? He won for the fifth time in his last 9 starts. His scoring average, his dominant run of play, how much it's February, and this guy's already won close to $10 million in total prize money with his run of dominance. So it's just been an incredible stretch of play because we keep who's the next Tiger Woods? Are we ever going to see this again? Open your eyes. You're seeing it right now. This run of dominance we haven't seen since the days of Tiger. So if you're like me and you love watching great athletes do what they do, hard to envision anybody right now in their sport more dominant currently than Jon Rahm is. And so it's just been an incredible stretch run. And now the PGA Tour goes to the Honda Classic. It's the Florida swing of the PGA Tour, which is great news for us Northerners because now that they're in Florida, they're in our time zone, which means spring is just around the corner. And that means whenever it's time to start thinking about perhaps moving, when it's time to think about getting yourself from point A to point B, I want you to think of one company and one company only, and they're the proud sponsors of In the Car with Star. It's my friends at Axon. You can find them online at axongroup.com. Call them for any information that you may need, 888-99-AXON. That's AXSUN, axongroup.com. A leader in freight forwarding and logistics. They have the knowledge and most importantly, they have the assets. So it's no stress. You call them, you tell them what you need done, and they take care of it all. It's why they're a leader in the industry. axongroup.com, 888-99-AXON. The knowledge and the assets to get your freight to its destination. So I'm talking cross-border or domestically inside Canada. You can trust the knowledge and the assets and the professionalism from axongroup.com, locally owned and operated group. They've been in the transportation business now for a little bit, so you can trust me when I tell you they are a leader in the industry. I wouldn't partner with anybody that I wouldn't trust my business, my hard-earned dollars with, and that's why I've partnered with Axon and axongroup.com, a leader in the transportation space, domestically, cross-border, the knowledge and the assets to get your freight to its destination on time, on budget, with professional care. axongroup.com. Call them for any information, 888-99-AXON. They're ready to take your call now. Steph Howard in the comments. Sean, off topic, my neighbor keeps his dog out. I'm a cat person, but I think it was wrong. What do you think? I need a little information. What do you mean keeps his dog out? Like, I let my dog out, but 5 minutes later, I let him back in the house. Like, it's freezing. I'm in my Ash Gregoire Chamonix Nissan Maxima right now, and the temperature, my dash is telling me, is -8, -14 with the wind. So here's the thing. Now, if we're going to go worst case scenario, I had something like this happen to me a few years ago where one of my neighbors left a dog out, and I kid you not, Steph, from like 6 in the morning, the dog was still yapping at 6:30 at night and really never stopped throughout the day. So much so that I kind of stopped my plans during the day because I wanted to see how bad this was. So they literally kept this dog out for days and days and days and days. So much so, I think it was the second or the third day where I'm like, my God, this dog is still barking. I went into their backyard. I walked up their fire escape, and I discovered that their entire balcony was covered in feces and urine. And there was this dog bleeping cowering in the corner. You know what my next move was? I walked down the fire escape, I picked up my phone, and I called the police. And then I called the SPCA. That's what I did. And then the police came, and the police, I watched them from my balcony. I watched them go up the fire escape. And the lady, she got halfway up the fire escape. She would call this a dégueulasse en haut. She couldn't believe it because it was such a mess. And then the SPCA came, and we filed some reports. And guess what? The situation has been resolved. A case was made, and follow-ups had happened. And guess what? My moron neighbors are still there, who I don't even talk to. I can't stand them. And guess what? There's no more pets. Done. So thank you, police and SPCA, for handling the business. So that's what I do. Steph says he keeps the so yes, he keeps it out the whole day, all the time. Steph, I would call the SPCA. There's a hotline. Just call the SPCA. Go through the directory, and they'll tell you. And they'll ask you some questions. So don't be afraid. Think about how the animal. You think you want to be trapped outside all day? It's -8 degrees. It's freaking cold out. Do you, Steph, want to be outside on your balcony all day? Probably not. So that's what if I were in your position, Steph, and I saw that this dog had been left outside literally all day for days on end, right? Like chained up to a tree or some bullshit, I would 1,000% call the SPCA. But I just wouldn't call it after 12 hours or something. I need prolonged, what I would deem abuse, right? So that's what I would do. I hope that answered your question, and good luck. I would like a follow-up, Steph. So use your better judgment. That's all I would say. If you feel that this animal is being treated cruelly, unfairly, you can do something about it. Call the SPCA. It worked for me, and see how it does. I would appreciate a follow-up on this story. So thanks for all the comments, you guys. Don't forget, you can support me as always, supporting my sponsors like K-Stop Gas Bar and Depanneur, Highway 138 in Ganawage. Gas is 24 hours a day. Someone there to pump the gas. So on a day today where it's -14, they've got a professional. And by professional, I mean dressed for the weather, gloves, toque, maybe a balaclava to protect from the wind chill. I don't know. I don't work there, but I get my gas there, and it's a tippable service. I've got a few bucks in my change, especially on a day like today. It's okay to over tip. And then you can walk through. Today's Tuesday, burrito bowls, fresh made tacos, garden grown vegetables, everything that would shock you from a gas station, with an actual working kitchen in the gas station, and incredible snacks from my friends at K-Stop Gas Bar and Depanneur, Highway 138 in Ganawage, right over the Mercier Bridge. You stay on the 138. It's the third traffic light. You roll up to the gas. You tell the guy what you need. You go into the Depanneur. You get your snacks. You get your drinks. You get your lunch, and boom, you're done. You tip the gas attendant, and off you go on your day. Premium fuel at discount prices only at K-Stop Gas Bar and Depanneur, proud sponsors of In the Car with Star, and have been since the get-go. Much love to my friends at K-Stop Gas Bar and AccentGroup.com, 888-99 Accent, for all your freight forwarding and logistical needs to get you from point A. You're moving from Montreal. You got to move to Burnaby, BC. You need to take your company. You need to just get out of Dodge. AccentGroup.com, 888-99 Accent, for all your information. A leader in the transportation and logistical space, and you can find them at accentgroup.com, proud sponsors of In the Car with Star. It's game day, Canadiens and Devils tonight. I like the Devils minus a goal and a half. New Jersey, even though their home record isn't that good, they are 5-0 in their last 5 home games. Jack Hughes is healthy, leads the team in scoring. You're going to see a real star on the ice tonight, and you're going to listen to it on TSN 690. The Canadiens are back in action on Friday, then on Saturday. That's kind of their week. And then they're out west, where I'm going to tell you right now, the Canadiens are going to California next week. I'm not going to be watching. If the Canadiens were the Toronto Maple Leafs, I would watch. But they're not. They have the 7th fewest points in hockey. And if you're on Team Tank, I think we're in good news territory. I think Canadiens lose tonight. They're probably going to lose on Friday against Philadelphia. and let the tank battle and the drop to the basement begin. Thanks as always. You can support me by supporting my sponsors like accentgroup.com, K-Stop Gaspar and Depiner, and Ash Gregoire, Shaman and Isen. In the car with Star, it's been a pleasure, my friends. We got a lot of comments, a lot of live views today. Thank you for your continual support. I'll be back with you. Yeah, let's do it again tomorrow. Okay, guys? Same channel, same time. We'll see you tomorrow morning.